Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. We have Trooper Hagstrom, and I would like you to please introduce yourself, as you are a very important guest that we've been trying to get on, and we're very excited to have you. Please tell us who you are.
Thank you for having me. First off, my name is Patrick Halligan. I'm a sergeant with the Investigation Division down here in Las Vegas.
And so, this is, if you don't live in this world, it's sort of mind-blowing in that way. Does that make sense? Do you even think that, you took your family on a walk through a park, and all of a sudden you stumbled across a cow head, and you're like, what is this? And then all of a sudden you found these plants that are, it certainly looks tall.
Yeah.
Right? This is like...
Yeah, depending, again, how long they've been going and when it gets discovered. Typically you would try to get it right before they harvest it, so these plants can be, 8-9 feet tall. They're very large, and generally, several acres are covered, and there's thousands of plants just kind of hidden into the forest.
And at the end of the day, I don't know, but it obviously ruins the area.
That generally is one of the...
they're not trying to do this for sanitary reasons,
right?
Here, right? You know what I'm saying?
There's probably another photo, but yeah, they don't clean up after themselves, right? So the piping, the irrigation tubing is left out there. And then depending, again, the timeline, they'll use, pesticides and things like that to not only help grow, but also keep them healthy. So all that stuff gets dumped into the soil. There's all kinds of EPA violations, I would imagine. And the environmental concern or the impact is much greater than people would imagine than just growing something, because they are harvesting them to sell ultimately. So.
Yeah, and these grows are also out in the desert areas too, in some of the canyons. We've had them out by Moapa, out by Mesquite, different areas. Absolutely. And Arizona border on the other side.
Oh yeah.
When I see this again, I think of the fact that someone is traveling at a high rate of speed, that is doing the impaired. You know what I'm saying? And how are they getting this type of stuff? Does that make sense? And it comes from things like this. Yeah. And so, let me ask you this: so the marijuana is legal here, but they don't this is not the person that's growing it, selling to the places here.
So you have to have a permit and a business, an actual business going through the state, and it has to be selected. And then not only that, they have a certain tax amount on the marijuana and how it has to be packaged and everything. And also they have to label whether the THC levels and the different, because there's different types of marijuana. I remember when we had our Slater on here, he told us there's like 5 or 6 different strands, and they're all used for different things. And so the state government regulates it here, and they make sure that, the certain amounts are sold, the THC levels, they have to be properly labeled, properly packaged, and they're paying that tax amount. That's how the government allowed this. People voted for it, but the government's regulating, they're still getting the taxes off it. This is totally illegal. This is what they're doing. This is the black market, the cartels, people selling it as illicit drugs, which could be a little bit more dangerous, because you don't know what you're buying from there. Some of it could be tampered with. He could kind of go into probably some of the stuff that they do too. They could put PCP or extra stuff and.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know anything, but did they put fentanyl with marijuana? You hear about these things on the news all the time that they keep doing all these things, and so I'm just my mind is just sort of there. I'm looking at this plant and I'm saying, well, like you said, they put pesticides in there. Well, what if the guy decided to put extra pesticides in there? What if that's liquid fentanyl that goes into the marijuana? Who knows?
Yeah, there's no quality control for it. So, and that's what the regulations here are very highly regulated. So, right, the state can have an eye on what's going out. This is it's just usually like BLM or National Forest property. They just find a good canyon and it's remote
And some of these places are guarded with people with firearms.
Yeah, generally
you know, they
there will
keep
be
people out,
a couple
like
of folks
if
in
you're
there.
walking. Yeah,
So
absolutely, to protect their
they have to harvest
stuff.
and
Yeah,
water.
Oh, to
and-
make sure nobody goes in there and just starts grabbing their
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Well, and they'll
Yeah.
tend to it just like a normal plant, I suppose. But yeah, they'll stay there months at a time and make sure that it gets all the way so that to this size, so they can harvest and take it wherever it's going.
And I wanted to ask you, not specific to anything, let me be very clear, but we just had something happen here in Las Vegas when it comes to bombing materials and things of this nature. Does that make sense? It's nice to know that there's an agency that is looking at these type of activities as well, because again, I don't think about it. You know what I mean? That somebody's going on the Las Vegas Boulevard and deciding to put a, like we had in New Orleans, where they put a
IED.
yeah, you know what I mean, a suitcase or something. You know what I mean? But that again, not in any type of specifics, right? But it's not easy to find people that are doing these type of things, and that's part of the investigative nature of your department, right?
Yeah, and we, again, certainly with this one, it was, again, a joint with the local jurisdictions down here. And unfortunately, sometimes it is a responsive thing to where something has occurred, right? And then you go as a result and then find, additional items or additional components that may be intended to use somewhere else, and hopefully you can disrupt that, or the suspect is captured or otherwise. But yeah, it's generally not something you would look for, and they're difficult to find unless there are some other signs or indicators, right, that somebody can pick up on and report.
Yeah.
And then one thing, can you add about what you do after when you find these grow operations? You guys take all the plants down, pile it up. Do you burn it? I know you take the photos for the evidence.
So yeah,
there's
there's a process, and it really depends on what's found in the camp. With some of those pesticides, again, because of the nature of the pesticides, we can't take them down. We can't take them, so we'll cut them, and then it's a different operational piece where, again, the EPA, usually Department of Forestry or the BLM, will go in and have to clean that up somehow and eradicate those pesticides, because we can't just carry them out. But there's a National Guard unit that does assist. We do get helicopters through them. The Counter Drug Task Force, there's a couple of full-timers that are assigned to our Narcotics Task Force in Carson City that do a lot of the like mission planning, recon, and then coordinating of assets to get these things, because again, they are several acres large. So just getting into them safely requires usually a couple of miles of traversing, and then you have to look out for the people that are in there. Sometimes they are guarded with IED components or tripwires or things like that, to where, right, they're set up to protect the grow. So it depends what's found inside that grow, how it's eradicated afterwards, really.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, tripwires. I mean, you don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? But
he's like a regular James Bond.
right? No, but you have to think about these things, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you're walking in the thing. All of a sudden, you see, you're like looking at your feet, looking for like every single twig. Not saying, but I'm just saying. So like, you're like, oh, I better not click. You know what I mean? Like, holy smokes.
Yeah, it's definitely, they're definitely concerning.
It's a very daunting task.
They're out generally very, very remote areas, but people do usually stumble into them on accident. And there's been confrontations of, somebody finds it, and then the growers are in there, and then there's a, hey, standoff type thing. And luckily, I don't believe there's been any incidents where people have been harmed or whatever. But yeah, you don't want to run into these guys generally in the middle of nowhere.
All right, last and final thing. We're going to look at this camera right here. See, it was only an hour and 12 minutes. You did good. All right, we're just going to wave. And we're going to say, see you later. Bye-bye.